Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into the microscopic building blocks of life itself. We are looking at a fascinating curriculum from heroesmartacademy to see exactly how they connect intricate cellular biology to a much larger spiritual philosophy.
We've got a great roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll welcome you to the cell factory, meet the organelle workers, and watch the assembly line in action. Then, we'll look at the curriculum's take on divine design, and finally, their philosophy of education with morality.
All right, Section 1. Welcome to the cell factory, discovering the parts that keep us alive.
So starting right inside the cell, we are looking at the tiny parts breaking down nutrients and creating energy for you right now. The crucial point here is that your cells rely on organelles. If you break that word down, it literally translates to little organs. These microscopic factories are working tirelessly every single second of the day. Just like you have a heart and lungs to keep you going, your cells have organelles to keep them functioning. Each one has a super specialized job, basically like individual workers inside a giant, bustling manufacturing plant.
Section 2. Meet the organelle workers and their specialized roles inside the cell.
The curriculum brilliantly maps these tiny parts to real-world factory jobs. Let's step onto the factory floor, shall we? First up, the nucleus. Think of this as the control tower. It holds your genetic blueprint, your DNA, and calls all the shots, directing all cellular activity. Next, we've got the mitochondria. These are your power plants. Just like a busy city needs electricity to keep the lights on, your cells need energy. The mitochondria take sugar from your food and convert it into usable energy called ATP. And then we have the ribosomes. These guys are the builders on the floor, constantly assembling the proteins your body desperately needs to function. Moving down the line, we run into the endoplasmic reticulum, or the ER. You can picture the ER as a giant conveyor belt, smoothly transporting those proteins down the hallways of the cell. Then, everything arrives at the Golgi apparatus. This is the shipping center, kind of like the cell's post office. It takes those newly made proteins, packages them up neatly, and ships them exactly where they need to go. But hey, every factory makes a mess, right? That brings us to the lysosomes, the waste management crew that breaks down waste and keeps the place clean. And finally, the vacuole acts as a massive storage tank, holding on to essential water and nutrients.
Now, this actually illustrates some really neat differences in the cellular blueprint depending on the organism. Animal and plant cells share most of these workers, but they definitely have their specialties. Animal cells lean heavily on those lysosomes to manage their waste. Plant cells, on the other hand, feature especially massive vacuoles. Think about it. A plant can't just get up and walk to a water fountain when it's thirsty, so its cells literally need enormous storage tanks to hold on to water and nutrients to survive between rainstorms.
Section 3. The assembly line in action. How organelles work together in harmony.
Seeing these parts work together is where the real magic happens. Let's look at how this builds into a perfectly timed biological assembly line. Imagine a protein being made right now inside you. Step 1. The ribosomes build the raw protein. Step 2. It gets dropped onto the ER, which zips it down the hall like a conveyor belt. Step 3. It arrives at the Golgi apparatus, which wraps it up, slaps a biological shipping label on it, and delivers it to exactly where your body needs muscle or tissue repair. It's a completely seamless, highly organized system.
So I want you to think about this for a second. Why is the factory worker analogy so perfectly suited for what's happening inside your body right now? Why compare biology to manufacturing?
Well, understanding these organelles gives us a crystal clear picture of how life functions from the inside out. It highlights an undeniable truth. Many parts working together in harmony can accomplish a massive, complex goal that a single part could never pull off alone. A ribosome can't survive without the mitochondria providing power, and the nucleus can't get anything done without the ER. Together, they literally create life.
Moving to Section 4, Divine Design and Unity, looking at the spiritual blueprint of biology.
Let's zoom out from the microscope for a moment. The HeroesMart curriculum draws a very direct parallel between this cellular harmony and a spiritual blueprint. Referencing Romans chapter 12, verse 4, the text argues that just as each of us has one body with many unique members, the body of Christ requires diverse, specialized roles to thrive. The curriculum highlights how this perfectly maps to the cell we just looked at. Not everyone is meant to be the control tower, and not everyone is meant to be the power plant. In this framework, we all have beautifully unique roles, and we only thrive when working together in harmony.
And our final section, number 5, Education with Morality, diving into the HeroesMart Academy philosophy.
The curriculum's philosophy makes the case that understanding your biological design should directly influence how you use your mind. The authors firmly believe that biblical morality has to be intertwined with learning. Their core argument is that education without morality will ultimately cause hurt. To them, what's the point of knowing exactly how a cell works or being incredibly smart if that intelligence is used to just keep making bad choices? Being smart doesn't automatically make someone good, so the curriculum insists that moral grounding has to sit right alongside scientific learning.
The text also points to Romans chapter 8, suggesting that keeping your mind spiritual while learning deep sciences actually brings a stabilizing peace of mind. For the creators of this curriculum, keeping a spiritual focus as you study biology doesn't just make a student smarter, it brings profound peace. In their educational model, true education is meant to bring both knowledge and that deep, stabilizing peace.
All right, before we wrap up, the curriculum challenges its 8th grade audience with a rapid-fire review of those factory workers. Let's see how well you can recall the material we just covered in this explainer. Feel free to shout out the answers if you know them.
Question 1. Which organelle acts as the power plant? Think back. What's taking the sugar from your food and turning it into that incredibly important usable ATP electricity? That's right, the mitochondria.
Next up, question 2. What do we call the control tower? Which organelle acts as the brain of the operation, holding your genetic blueprint and making all the decisions? Exactly, it's the nucleus. Question 3. What exactly are those busy little ribosome workers doing on the assembly line all day? What are they building? If you said they're building proteins needed for structure, you hit the nail right on the head.
And finally, question 4. Who handles the waste management, specifically inside animal cells, to keep the factory clean and functioning smoothly? Yep, those are the lysosomes.
You guys did incredibly well. As we wrap up, the curriculum really aims to leave its students with a profound sense of awe regarding human biology, viewing the body as a masterpiece of divine engineering. It leaves us with a fascinating philosophical question to ponder. How will you use your brilliantly designed mind? Will you use your education to serve the greater body and bring harmony, or will you use it to cause hurt? It's a really interesting look into how science and morality can be intertwined. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.